Donald from the Lake County Tobacco Free Partnership, and she's come to discuss their environmental programs and how nicotine and the environment and zoning laws all work together, which I'm entirely curious to learn about. So Sarah, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Susan, and thank you to Miss Christie who has been emailing me. So I appreciate you having me today. So again, yes, I work for the Bureau of Tobacco Free Florida, and with that comes specific priority areas. So things we work on are things like smoke-free multi-unit housing. That's when we go to multi-unit family residential apartments, over 55 communities. We work with the housing authority just to make sure that everybody has a policy that reduces everyone's exposure to secondhand smoke. We also work with the school public and private to make sure that their K-12 policies regarding tobacco cessation, nicotine on campus is as up to date and as beneficial for the students as it can be. We also work on point of sale and zoning, as Ms. Susan stated. So point of sale is like we go around to stores and make sure that the gummy bears are not being sold right next to the cigarettes or the vape cartridges. We make sure that their signage is appropriate and as it should be per legislation. And then zoning is a new policy area. Um, so zoning is a slow burning policy, but we are attempting to go around to our municipalities and advocate for limiting the number of vape shops in Lake County, whether it's by density. So, how many vape shops per X amount of residents, or by area. So saying, we don't want any new vape shops built next to the school or the church or a public park. We also have a tobacco free Lake County partnership, which is just made up of all different residents, private agencies, our school district, our sheriff's office, and we come together once every 3 months and we talk about how we can support those agencies and what's going on in tobacco control work. And lastly, we work on tobacco free spaces, which is why I initially wanted to reach out to your council. I cannot wait to stop yapping and find out more about what you guys do. But a big policy area for us is tobacco free public spaces. And that includes getting our public parks or waterways, beaches, if you're a coastal county, tobacco free. So we'll talk about a little bit more about this later, and what cities we've been able to accomplish that and what cities we're currently working on. So that gives you an idea of what I do. We will jump right in to our vision with the partnership and at TIFCOM is that every person in Lake County can enjoy a tobacco-free future and an environment, especially outdoor, free from toxic smoke and especially litter. So half of our youth in Lake County are exposed to secondhand smoke, either from cigarettes or electronic vape products. You might hear those referred to as also EVPs. And this is from the 2023 Youth Tobacco Survey that's conducted once a year. And we know that this smoke is not only harmful, but it normalizes the use of tobacco among our kids. And youth ages 11 to 17 in Lake County, 1 in 12 are currently vaping or using another toxic tobacco product. Cigarettes continue to be the most littered item in the United States. We find them in park, even in our green spaces, especially on our beaches or waterways, our roads, our sidewalks. And in 2020, the Ocean Conservancy's International Coastal Cleanup collected nearly 1 million cigarette butts, more than all the straws, cans, Coke bottles, or plastic grocery bags combined. So this litter, of course, as you know, comes at a cost. Each week, Florida communities spend thousands of dollars collecting thousands of cigarettes from our public spaces. And as I'm sure you know, cigarettes are non-biodegradable. as well as the plastic fibers and the toxic chemicals in cigarettes and the filters can be harmful when they enter the waterway. In 2020 alone, U.S. Poison Control Centers reported more than 9,500 cases involving children under 6 years of age who were exposed to tobacco and nicotine products. When cigarettes and vape products are littered, children sometimes find them and put them in their mouths, mimicking the behavior that they see in adults. Children can also swallow tobacco products, and they can also absorb liquid from e-cigarette cartridges through their skin. And this can cause vomiting, toxicity, convulsions, and even hospitalization. And I'm going to go off script for just a moment because I just read a report last week that in control nationwide, their calls regarding tobacco products have gone up over 700% in regards to the nicotine pouches. So if you haven't seen those yet, they're little pouches. It almost looks like a tiny little piece of gum. And it sits right between your cheek and your gums. And these products are quickly trending upward, and they have just been ingested one right after the other from our little ones. So that is a new concern for us. So I think we all know secondhand smoke is toxic, and there's no safe level of secondhand smoke. Even when you're outside, that's a big misconception. A 2006 report from the U.S. Surgeon General stated that there is no safe level of exposure. And it's important to know that commercial tobacco products contain much more than nicotine. They also contain chemical additives and serve a variety of purposes, such as enhancing the body's ability to absorb nicotine, which causes addiction and makes it harder to quit. When the tobacco and the additives are burned together, the smoke they create is a complex mixture of chemicals. So even brands that claim to be natural or additive-free have been found to contain similar levels of toxic ingredients. Children who are exposed to secondhand smoke, my bar's in the way, are inhaling the same cancer-causing chemicals and substances as smokers. And those chemicals include arsenic, ammonia, and hydrogen cyanide. For infants and children and adults, especially with asthma, even brief exposures to secondhand smoke can have a serious impact on their respiratory system, and sometimes that can be life-threatening. Here we go. Children exposed to secondhand smoke from cigarettes have an increased risk of sudden infant death syndrome, asthma, cancer, and a range of developmental abnormalities. The U.S. Census Bureau estimates that Lake County is home to more than 444,200 children, including 20,400 who are under the age of 5. And according to the Florida Department of Health, approximately 1 in 10 of those children have asthma. Sorry. Okay. So toxic smoke isn't just created by cigarettes, it's also created by electronic vaping products or EVPs. Researchers have found that vape products contain heavy metals like lead, tin, nickel, chemicals like formaldehyde, and thousands of other unidentified chemicals. And like cigarettes, vape products contain high amounts of nicotine, which harm parts of the brain responsible for learning and especially mental health. So if you don't know, most of our vapes are aerosol, which is ingested in the lungs in a completely different way than a combustible cigarette is. And not only is there nicotine and unidentified chemicals in the cartridges, the water, or the aerosol itself, but when the devices heat up, that device and the things it's made of, whether it's metal or plastic, also releases a chemical into that nicotine liquid. So that's also being inhaled by our youth. So there's hope. We know that tobacco-free spaces can reduce exposure to secondhand smoke, reduce tobacco in public settings, and help denormalize tobacco use. We, again, at CIFCOM and at the Bureau of Tobacco-Free Florida, believe every person should be happy to enjoy the great outdoors, free from toxic smoke and litter. E-cigarette waste contains, again, metal, batteries, and plastic cartridges, and these products cannot be biodegradable even under severe conditions. Cigarettes continue to be, again, the most littered item, and their filters contain the plastic and the fibers that are also non-biodegradable. And when these products find their way into our rivers, lakes, and oceans, the plastic breaks into smaller pieces that are eaten by birds, animals, and fish. Additionally, the tobacco industry cuts down an average of 600 million trees every year. So preventing tobacco use isn't just good for public health, it's good for the environment. Lastly, tobacco-free policies can help the local economy. Visitors cite clean, natural areas that are free of litter as a top reason for choosing their destination. And as we know, we have so many beautiful lakes in Lake County. In fact, a study of 4 vacation destinations in the US found that litter can hurt tourism. Researchers examined the number of days tourists stayed in each location and the amount of litter reported. They estimated that more litter was associated with shorter stays, reducing their stay up to 35% and representing millions in lost revenue from goods and services. Across the country, there are thousands of public parks and hundreds of beaches with smoke and vape-free policies. Without a similar policy across the board here in Lake County, tourists who want to enjoy a clean and healthy environment could choose to look elsewhere. So why are we pushing for tobacco-free spaces now? This has been a priority area for us for the last 2 years, and that's because in July of 2022, House Bill 105 became law, updating the Florida Clean Air Act and authorizing counties and municipalities to restrict smoking and vaping in local parks and beaches. While the ability to regulate smoking in other public settings is preempted to the state, the new law created an exception for parks and beaches. Notably, unfiltered cigarettes are excluded from regulation. Traditionally, cigars have been unfiltered, so the image that comes to mind when you think of a cigar is likely an unfiltered one. But in recent years, tobacco companies have begun making filtered cigars as well. These products have a filter, they're often smaller and cheaper and may look like a cigarette than a cigar. Since the law took effect, many cities and counties across Florida have already begun to discuss the benefits of smoke and vape-free public spaces. Sorry. Okay. So, after the passage of House Bill 105, the Public Health Law Center developed a model ordinance specifically for Florida counties and municipalities. And when these ordinances are adopted, they prohibit smoking and vaping on public parks and or beaches. They require signage that includes the phrase "no smoking or vaping" so that the public is aware of the policy when they enter the park or the beach. And they allow for enforcement measures, such as asking someone who is violating the policy to leave the park or the beach. Some counties even have a ticket or citation attached. Notably, the existing resolution supporting tobacco-free parks and beaches is not enforceable. This ordinance would help address violations. And if you have any questions about the policy, you can look it up on the Public Health Law Center. We also always provide it to the cities we are hunting down and going after. So obviously the research is clear and children are especially vulnerable to secondhand smoke. And once again, there is no safe level of nicotine exposure. And this has been proven to be harmful also to our environment. So thank you so much for sitting through my spiel in my bare bedroom here. I will stop sharing. And if you have any questions, if you want to just dialogue a little bit about House Bill 105, or the work we're doing. Um, so our SWAT, our students working against tobacco, these are clubs that we have in several local public schools and one private school. They actually have advocated in the cities of Umatilla for tobacco free parks, and that passed in 2023. Um, so Umatilla is tobacco free in all their parks and at their public pool. They also advocated in front of the city council for Eustis in October. So we are just waiting for Eustis to sign off on their new signs and fully pass the new ordinance. Groveland, we are working with, and also Mount Dora. They already have a pretty tight tobacco free policy, but we're working with them just to tighten it up a little bit more according to the recommendations for the Public Health Law Center. So, those are the four areas that we have either succeeded at or we are working toward currently. Does anybody have any questions? I know that was a lot on a 6:30 Wednesday.
Oh, that's great. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, go ahead, Deborah.
Yeah, I have a question. I am really surprised about how many young people are still being targeted for cigarettes and vaping. You mentioned 1 in 12. Did you say that was in Lake County or is that nationwide?
That's in Lake County. Yes, ma'am. And that's actually come down from 2021. We started at 1 in 8, and now we are at 1 in 12. Yeah.
And what is the main marketing for targeting kids? How are they getting these kids involved in vaping
Well,
and
certainly
cigarettes?
flavors have a big
Flavors,
part.
yeah.
Flavors, I think our youth still have a misconception about how harmful that these vapes in particular really are. Depending on the brand, some vape cartridges, which is a youth could go through, I mean, in a day essentially, is equivalent to almost 3 packs of cigarettes. So there's a big misconception about how much nicotine is actually in the vapes. Also, I'm sure you're all aware that now you have to be 21 to purchase tobacco. But unfortunately, a lot of our retailers um, still are selling to kids, under the age of 21, even under the age of 18. We're seeing vaping in our middle school. Um, we've had a few come to school from elementary school, but that was just they had it at home, they put it in their backpack, they weren't actually using it. But certainly, um, and certainly, I think mental health is, when we talk to our youth about their why they are vaping, a lot of it is still peer pressure, misinformation, and honestly, mental health. They're stressed, they're anxious, they're depressed, and they don't realize that when they're vaping, yes, they feel okay temporarily, but it really aggravates their underlying
Hmm.
issue. So,
Thank
yes.
you. And thanks for your work. You're really doing a really good job. So thank you for that.
Oh, well,
Very,
thank you. I have a great
very
team.
important. Hmm.
Thank you. Thank you. And really, we've met so many mayors and city managers and Parks and Rec, and everybody's on board. It is kind of, like I said, like a slow going process to get all these ordinances in line. But um, Lake County really, really is doing well.
What
So
about second hand unfiltered cigar smoke? Why is that excluded? Is there
So I'm going to
any?
be honest, and that was excluded because one of the gentlemen in the house liked to smoke on the golf course. So they did not want, in order to get it passed, there was a concession. And so you can still smoke your cigar uh, on the golf course or in a public park, unfortunately.
Is there data on the effects of secondhand unfiltered cigar smoke?
I don't have data specifically on cigar smoke, but I'm sure it is just as bad as,
Hmm.
any type of cigarette.
Hmm. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mhm.
So you said that there was preemptions from the state level. So I assume that means that you can't have regulations about things like common areas in subsidized housing or something like that.
Correct. Yes.
Explain a little
And
bit
we
more about
find
what is preempted and what is changeable.
so when we're talking about parks and beaches, it has to be at the municipality level. Um, when we go to our like multi-unit housing, a lot of those still cannot change their policies, just like outside on the balcony. Um, Preemption, I'm going to be honest, is not my strong point. So other than those two areas, I'm not sure where we are limited at, but also zoning, I know that there was a new law regards to zoning and what you cannot change at this point. That hasn't scared away any of our cities yet because it's mostly due to residential rebuilding, not necessarily vape and tobacco, but yeah.
Sad policy. The other thing that occurred to me too is, I know that everyone's talking about microplastics a lot and how terrible those are in the environment. You mentioned the cigarette butts have microplastics in them. Can you give a little more level of detail? I'm pretty interested to learn more about that. How it's
So
specifically is showing up in the environmental testing.
I will make a note and I will make sure that I email Miss Christie with that data. I don't have that at my fingertips, but I'm sure I can get a hold of that for you.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent. I think that would be
And
pretty.
certainly, all the cartridges and, even if they're quote disposable, those just sit, we find them in the water, especially all the time. So yeah.
Okay. In places where they don't have rules against it, has anything been tried like the clean up after your pet? Here's the trash can for your pet waste. Has there been any sort of like clean, put your butts here or something kind of efforts?
So we've been floating the idea with the sheriff's office. First, we were thinking about this for the schools, and then we recently started to talk about it not only in the schools, but in our public parks about an anonymous drop box, basically, for your vape products. So we are kind of workshopping that with the school district and with the sheriff's office. And as we go from city to city, we're now adding that to the conversation. Um, we're also seeing, what we can fund at the Bureau of Tobacco Free Florida. So when we pass an ordinance, we like to offer to purchase the signs because we know that could be a barrier. So now we're also seeing if we can purchase drop boxes and have those placed in our schools and our public parks.
Okay, Catherine.
I attended a conference not long ago, and there was a representative from Keep Florida Beautiful there, and they had this tube, like a foot tall tube, that was full of cigarette butts. And they said that there are companies out there that will separate the tobacco and the fiber, and then they recycle the fiber for different projects. Have you heard of that? And is that something we
I
should?
have I have not, but I am making a note to see
Okay.
if to see what that's about. That sounds amazing.
I can look for the name of the lady who told me and give you her information. But
Okay,
thank
that's
you.
wonderful. Thank you. So I would just like to know I saw your website, but I would like to know what you guys are up to, what your mission is, and what you guys are working on, or what like your main sort of concerns or priority areas.
Oh, sure. We have a lot of passionate people in our group here that focus on slightly different things, but we get a lot done usually.
Okay.
Anybody want to take a crack at that? So our biggest thing that we're working on right now, we're just getting started on, is we do an annual event called the Eco Expo.
Okay.
which you are quite welcome to attend. It's a tabling event. We're like this close to having some details locked down. We're probably going to be at David Park in Groveland, and you're welcome to
Okay.
come set up a table with your information. That's our big annual event, is our Eco Expo.
Okay.
And we really try to focus that event on people and organizations that make a difference to the environment. And we ask the people that come to bring something that they can take home with them, right? You come to my table,
Sure.
you've got something actionable for your future. We try to focus on keeping it environmentally focused and not like vendors and whatever. We have some vendors if it's environmentally focused. We had about 48 vendors last year.
Oh,
And
wow.
it
Okay.
was a really nice event. We had like 1,000 Friends of Florida and the Springs Council, and we had some like native plant societies and native plant landscaping people, and animals. We had Catherine worked her little tushy off to get some animal vendors in. It's complicated to have live animals, and that was really great. People appreciated getting to see some Florida wildlife. So I think your mission would fit right in with that.
Okay, thank you. Yes, please
Yeah.
keep me in the loop. Yeah.
Other than that, we spend a lot of time trying to. We're having troubles because of the preemption bill. That's why we asked about that.
Sure.
We try
Yeah.
to advocate for open space in subdivisions. We realize we're probably not going to stop subdivisions very often, but the sprawl, we advocate for less sprawl and smart development and smarter environmentally focused policies in the county. Cindy is often at the county commission meeting asking for environmentally focused changes to things coming up, and all of us have at various times done advocacy for environmental issues. Deborah's working on a proposed legislation to protect our rural areas. And we had some folks from our group at the legislative delegation, was that like a couple weeks ago, speaking on various environmental issues.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
So we're small but mighty. We've got several people that.
I see that. My goodness.
So
So it sounds like you guys are busy enough, but because we are contracted with the Bureau of Tobacco-Free Florida, myself and my counterpart cannot publicly advocate in city council meetings or with some decision makers at the municipality level. So that's where our tobacco-free Lake County partnership comes in, and those members either go or they accompany us to city council meetings or to meet with mayors or anybody that we are just logistically not allowed to advocate for. So I will make sure that you guys get our next partnership meeting invitation if anybody's interested. If anybody is interested in, advocating alongside us for tobacco-free parks or even zoning, it's a boring topic, but is much needed. So I will make sure you guys get that information as well.
that would be great. Yes, and Nico.
Also, Eustis has changed some of their policies, and the vape shops are only under a conditional use permit now. They're not permitted in any areas. So they've taken as good a control as they can. They can't do anything about the existing ones.
Okay,
but
yeah.
They are able to limit now the ones coming in.
That's amazing. Write that down. I will look into that for sure.
Is it my turn? I had another question.
Yeah, go.
Oh, thank you.
Catherine.
I know you're working with
Sorry.
Lake County. Are you working with other counties as well, like Orange County, Seminole County?
So I am assigned to Lake County. I do have counterparts in Orange and Seminole as well, also Sumter. So the contracts either are CivCom we have 27 counties in Florida. Most of the other counties, the contract lies with the Florida Department of Health. And then there's a small handful of counties, and that contract lies with a company called QuitDoc. But there is tobacco control policy work being done in every county. And in Lake, we always are working also with our surrounding counties. So Lake, Volusia, Sumter, and Orange, we we collaborate and we know what we're doing all the time. Those are my coworkers. So
Now, how are you guys doing? Do you have any data that shows that we're seeing a decline in, especially with kids, taking up the habit?
yeah, so I'm not going to take credit for the decline that we've seen. However, since we gained the contract in 2021, that number, that 1 in 12, we started at 1 in 8, and now we're up to 1 in 12. We do have 2 cities that pass tobacco-free parks, and we are working on more. And with our Lake County School District, we also worked on their policy in 2022. So sort of just a rabbit hole. Neola is an organization that is kind of like the Public Health Law Center, and they had 15 policies for like the perfect K-12 tobacco policy you can have. And Lake County actually has 12 of the 15. So we are doing super well with K-12. We are also one of the only counties, one of 2, I think, 2 or 3 in the state of Florida that has a vape dog. So we it's a slow burn, but we're getting there. Yeah.
Good, thank you.
Classroom got inspected by the vape dog once.
Really?
Oh, nice. I mean, she is adorable. I've met her several times and her handler is great. So yeah, that's a really good program. Yeah, I think she just sent me the data. So in the last school year, among other things, Samba found 33 vapes and then like a cigarillo, a cigar, a cigarette, and then of course, THC and other items. But yeah, she found 33 vapes last year, and the school district issued 365 citations for vaping.
Right.
Any other
Catherine,
questions?
did you have something else, Catherine? No. Okay. Right. No, this is all great. I think we will probably discuss, and I see it's pretty likely that we will go forward with, doing some of this stuff. It's really great initiatives, and it's nice having a model ordinance.
Oh, yes, yes. Great. Well, I am so appreciative that you guys let me take up so much of your time this evening. I am super excited about the work that you're doing, and I will make sure I wrote some notes. I'll make sure you get the next invite, some of that data you requested, and keep me informed about your Eco Expo. That sounds wonderful.
Okay, yeah, we definitely will. I'll add you to the list. We just do a pretty simple registration form about coming in, and we ask for a donation, but we know a lot of government things aren't really able to pay like cabling fees or something. So if you we ask for a donation because we do have to buy an insurance policy to cover some of our expenses.
Okay.
But if that's something we can discuss if I don't know what your government-ish structure is like.
Yeah, so if you send me an invoice and you give me enough heads up, I can get it approved. It usually takes, like, I'm gonna be honest, like 2 months. Some ways we have found to creatively work our budget is also like, instead of paying for like a table registration, we've been able to purchase like park cleanup materials and provide those kind of in lieu of a fee or something that we didn't think would be approved by the state. So we can always chat and be creative.
Okay, good. All right. Well, no, that's really great information. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you guys so much. Have a great evening.
Thank you. All right. Well, that was some really good food for thought. All right. Wonder what happened to Linda. All right. So this is looking like the usual suspects. Well, anyway, I guess we'll carry on with our agenda. I'll bring the meeting to order. Let me share the agenda on the screen.